Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. The mimosa tasted like poison in my mouth. I sat there in the bright sunlight streaming through the restaurant windows, wearing my favorite red dress, watching my fiancé Trayvon Hayes smile at his friends Tyrone and Rashad like he was about to tell the funniest joke in the world. We were at Riverfront Bistro in downtown Chicago, the same place where he proposed to me exactly 1 year ago. The same table even. I had assumed he brought me here for something special. Maybe to celebrate our upcoming wedding, which was supposed to happen in exactly 3 weeks. I was so completely wrong. "So, Raina," Trayvon said, leaning back in his chair with a casual confidence that made my stomach twist. "I have been thinking a lot lately about us, about the wedding, about everything." I smiled automatically, assuming he was about to say something tender or nervous about the big day. I told myself a lot of people got cold feet before their wedding. We would talk it through, laugh about it later, and go right back to planning our happily ever after. "I am calling off the wedding," he said, just like that. 5 words that shattered everything. "I do not love you anymore." For a moment, I thought I had misheard him. The noise of the restaurant faded into a distant blur. The clink of silverware, the low hum of conversation, the soft jazz playing over the speakers. All of it dissolved until I could only hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Tyrone and Rashad exchanged glances, smirking like they had been in on some secret. The Sunday brunch crowd around us kept eating their French toast and omelets, completely unaware that my entire world had just fallen apart. "What?" The word came out smaller than I intended. My throat felt dry and tight. Trayvon sighed, as if I were the one being difficult. "Come on, Raina. You had to know this was not working. We have grown apart. I need someone who truly understands me. Someone more exciting, more adventurous. You are great. Do not get me wrong. You are stable and reliable, but that is not what I need right now." Stable. Reliable. The words felt like slaps across my face. This was the man I had spent 4 years with, the man I had rearranged my entire life around. I had turned down job opportunities in other cities to stay close to him. I had spent countless evenings attending his work functions, supporting his career, being the perfect partner beside him while he networked and impressed the right people. Tyrone laughed. Actually laughed. "Man, you are really doing this now. At brunch. When else?" Trayvon shrugged. "The wedding is in 3 weeks. Better now than at the altar, right?" Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Rashad holding his phone slightly angled toward us, the camera app open. Recording. He was recording this. My humiliation. This moment where my life split into a before and an after. My hand tightened around the stem of my glass until I thought it might snap. Something cold settled in my chest. Not sadness. Not yet. Something sharper, cleaner. "Thank you for your honesty," I heard myself say. My voice sounded calm, almost pleasant. Detached, like I was listening to someone else speak. I reached down and twisted the engagement ring off my finger. The 2-carat diamond caught the sunlight, throwing tiny prisms onto the white tablecloth. I had stared at that ring during meetings, during morning coffee, during late-night planning sessions for our wedding. I had imagined passing it down to a daughter one day. I set it down on the table between us with a soft, final click. "I appreciate you telling me now," I continued, still in that eerily controlled voice. "You are right. Better now than later." Trayvon blinked, clearly surprised. Maybe he had expected tears, pleading drama. Maybe he had hoped I would raise my voice so he could tell people later. See? She was so emotional, so unstable. I had to leave. I was not going to give him that satisfaction. I picked up my phone, opened my notes application, and started typing. My hands were steady. "So, I will need to contact the venue, the caterer, the florist, the disc jockey, the photographer." I looked up at him. "I assume you will want to help with the cancellation fees, since you are the one calling it off." I mean, we can talk about that later," he stammered, glancing nervously at Tyrone and Rashad. "No," I said, still smiling a small, polite smile that did not come anywhere near my eyes. "I think we should discuss it now, in front of your friends. Since you decided this was the appropriate time and place to end our engagement." I sat a little straighter. "You said I am stable and reliable, correct? Well, here is some stability for you. I am keeping the deposits for everything that cannot be refunded. Consider it compensation for the 4 years I spent building a life around your schedule." Tyrone was not laughing anymore. Rashad had lowered his phone, guilt flickering across his face. Other tables had started to quiet down. People were watching us now. Good, I thought. Let them see. I stood up slowly, smoothing my red dress with my free hand. My heart was racing, but my voice stayed steady. Actually, I said, projecting just enough that nearby tables could hear me clearly, I am going to send out a new round of invitations to everyone who was invited to our wedding. But instead of a wedding, I will be hosting a dodged-a-bullet party. Same date, same venue. I tilted my head, because I think that is worth celebrating. Do you not agree? Trayvon's face went pale. Reina, do not be ridiculous. You cannot. Cannot what? I leaned forward slightly. Celebrate the fact that I learned who you really are before I legally tied myself to you? I disagree. I picked up my purse. Oh, and Trayvon? His friends stopped even pretending to be relaxed when I added, I know about Asia. His eyes widened. What are you talking about? I lowered my voice so only the four of us could hear, but everyone at the table caught every word. I know you have been sleeping with her for the past 6 months. I know you have been taking her to hotels during your business trips. I know you bought her a bracelet from the same jeweler where you bought my ring. I know everything. Trayvon's face shifted from pale to gray. His mouth opened and closed without any sound coming out. I was waiting to see if you would come clean, I said. If you would be honest. But instead, you chose to humiliate me in public in front of your friends, at the place where you proposed. So now, everyone at this table knows, and soon everyone we know will know. Not because I am going to trash you, but because I am going to tell the truth. Every single time someone asks me why the wedding is off, I will tell them exactly what happened. Reina, wait, Trayvon said, standing up and reaching for me. I stepped back. Do not touch me. Do not call me. Do not text me. My brother Leon will pick up my things from your apartment tomorrow. Any communication from now on goes through him. I turned to Tyrone and Rashad. You two might want to think about the kind of man you are friends with, I said quietly. A man who humiliates someone who loved him. A man who cheats for 6 months and then acts like he is doing her a favor by calling things off. A man who thinks this, I gestured around us, is acceptable behavior. Then I addressed the restaurant. Several tables had completely stopped eating. I apologize for the disruption, I said clearly. I just learned that my fiancé has been cheating on me and decided to call off our wedding 3 weeks before the date. At Sunday brunch. In public. I added, almost as an afterthought, if anyone needs a good event planner, I suddenly have some availability. A woman at the next table started clapping. Then another. A few more people joined in, a soft wave of supportive applause that washed over me like a strange, bittersweet blessing. I walked out of Riverfront Bistro with my head high and my shoulders back. I made it all the way to my car before my composure cracked. As soon as I closed the door and locked it, my hands dropped to the steering wheel, and the sobs came, huge, shaking bursts that tore up from somewhere deep inside my chest. I had held it together in there, controlled and dignified. But alone in my car, with the bright Chicago afternoon sun beating down on the windshield, I finally felt it all. The betrayal, the humiliation, the loss. My phone buzzed again and again. Text messages flooded in faster than I could read them. Through my tears, I saw one from my best friend. Reina, where are you? Someone just posted a video and then deleted it, but I saw enough. I am coming to you right now. Another from my brother. Where are you? I just saw something on social media. Tell me now. A third from my mother. Reina, sweetheart, someone just called me. What happened? Part of me wanted to curl into a ball and disappear. Another part of me, the same part that had walked out of that restaurant with my spine straight, felt something different. I felt the faintest hint of freedom. Trayvon was the one who cheated. He was the one who humiliated me. I was not the villain in this story. I was not the one who had thrown away for years like they meant nothing. I took a shaky breath and wiped my eyes, smearing mascara across the backs of my hands. I looked a mess, but I was still breathing. I picked up my phone and called my best friend. Brittany, I am in the parking lot by Riverfront Bistro, I said, my voice raw. I do not think I should drive. I am already on my way, Brittany said. She was a lawyer, and right then she sounded like one. Stay on the phone. I will be there in 5 minutes. He did it in front of his friends? Like it was entertainment. Yes, I whispered. He did. Then we are going to make sure this is the worst decision he has ever made, Brittany said. Not physically, not violently. Legally, socially, professionally. But first, we are going to get you home. Then we are going to make a plan. True to her word, Brittany's car screeched into the parking lot a few minutes later. She climbed out, phone still pressed to her ear, eyes fierce. "Where else would I be?" she said as she wrapped me in a careful hug. "Come on, let us get you home." My apartment looked exactly the same as when I had left that morning. The wedding planning binder sat on the coffee table, stuffed with fabric swatches, seating charts, and menu options. Trayvon's college hoodie hung on the back of my couch. His toothbrush waited in my bathroom. Half his clothes were in my closet, because he had been gradually moving in. Evidence of a life I thought we were building together. Evidence of how blind I had been. "First question," Brittany said, rolling up the sleeves of her emerald blouse like she was preparing for trial. "Do you want to destroy his stuff, or do you want me to pack it up so he cannot claim you damaged anything?" I stared at the hoodie, imagining myself cutting it into ribbons, lighting it on fire, dropping it out my third-floor window. The brief fantasy felt satisfying for half a second, then hollow. "Pack it," I said. "Everything. I want every trace of him out of here by tomorrow." "Good choice. The high road is harder, but it lasts longer." Brittany pulled out her phone. "I am texting Leon. This will go faster with more hands." As I sank onto the couch, my phone buzzed again. Messages from friends, coworkers, clients, cousins. Some checking on me, some asking what happened, some already furious on my behalf. Then I saw a message from an unknown number. "Reina, we need to talk. This is not how I wanted things to go. Please call me." I held the screen out to Brittany. She made a sound of pure disgust. "Block him. Right now. Maybe I should hear what he has to say." I murmured, though even as I said it, it sounded weak. "No," Brittany said firmly. "He does not get to control the story anymore. He does not get to explain, justify, ask for your understanding. He made his choice when he stood up in that restaurant and threw away for years for a spectacle. You owe him nothing. Not your time, not your attention, and certainly not your forgiveness." I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I hit block and deleted it. "Done," I said quietly. "Good." Brittany's shoulders relaxed a fraction. "Now tell me how you found out about Asia. You said you have known for 2 weeks. I felt my stomach knot. He left his laptop open on my kitchen table one morning. I was going to close it, but an email popped up from her. The subject line said, "Last night was incredible." I knew I should not look, but I did. There were messages. Photos. 8 months of lies sitting in our inbox. I closed my eyes for a second, fighting back a fresh wave of nausea. I almost confronted him that night, but I knew what he would say, that it was just physical, that it did not mean anything, that he loved me, not her. I wanted to see what he would do if I stayed quiet. If he would come clean, end it, choose me. Instead, he called off the wedding. He chose her, Brittany said bluntly. And he was such a coward, he had to do it in front of his friends, so they could make him feel justified. The apartment door opened. Leon walked in carrying a stack of flattened cardboard boxes. My older brother's jaw was clenched, eyes dark with fury. "Where is he?" Leon asked without any greeting. "Give me an address." "No," I said immediately, standing up. "You are not going after him. That is exactly what he would want. Then he gets to be the victim, the man whose ex's family harassed him." "Reina, he humiliated you in public," Leon snapped. "He made a show of it. That video is everywhere." "And I handled it," I said. "I am handling it. What I need from you is to get his things out of my apartment and drop them at his place tomorrow. No conversation. No confrontation. Just walk in, leave the boxes, walk out. Nothing he can twist later." Leon looked like he wanted to argue, but Brittany nodded toward him. "She is right. This is her call. We follow her lead." "Fine," Leon muttered. "But if he shows up here, then you can do whatever you want," I said. "But for now, this stays clean." We spent the next 2 hours packing. Every shirt, every book, every pair of shoes, every random item Trayvon had left scattered in my kitchen, my bedroom, my living room. Brittany labeled each box and took pictures of the contents. "Documentation," she explained. "Just in case he decides to claim you stole something." At one point, I found myself sitting on the bedroom floor, holding a framed photo from a vacation last year. We were on a beach in Miami, sunburned and smiling, arms wrapped around each other like nothing could ever come between us. "How did I miss it?" I whispered. "How did I not see who he really was?" Brittany sat beside me. "Because you are not a mind reader," she said. "Because you trusted him. Because he lied well. That is all." "It feels like I failed," I admitted. "Like I missed something obvious. Like I must have done something wrong for him to go looking for someone more exciting." No, Brittany said, taking the frame gently from my hands and setting it aside. He failed. He failed to value you. He failed to be honest. He failed to be faithful. That is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of his character. My phone rang. My mother. I had been dodging her calls, afraid that hearing her voice would shatter whatever strength I had left. I answered anyway. Hi, Mom. Raina Michelle Mitchell. My mother said, using my full name like she had when I was in trouble as a child. Her voice was sharp with worry. I've been calling you for hours. Someone told me Trayvon called off the wedding. Please tell me that is not true. It is true, I said quietly. He told me today. At brunch. In front of his friends. The silence on the other end was heavy. Then my mother said very softly, Are you all right? No, I answered honestly. But I will be. Where are you? At my apartment. Brittany and Leon are here. I am on my way, my mother said. Do not argue with me. She hung up before I could respond. By the time my mother arrived, we had stacked Trayvon's boxes by the front door. She swept in like a storm in a teal dress and low heels, took one look at my face, and pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe. My baby, she whispered. My sweet girl. I started crying again, big ugly sobs that soaked her shoulder. She just held me and stroked my hair, murmuring soothing nonsense the way she had when I was small and woke up from nightmares. When I finally pulled away, she looked at the boxes. Leon, you are taking these to him tomorrow morning. No conversation. No shouting. Just drop them and leave. Yes, ma'am, Leon said. My mother turned back to me. And what are you doing? I wiped my eyes. I am throwing a party, I said. At the venue where the wedding was supposed to be. A dodged-a-bullet party. My mother studied me for a long beat. Then, to my surprise, she smiled, small but proud. That is my daughter, she said, turning pain into power. She squeezed my hands. All right, then let us figure out how to make it the best party this city has ever seen. We ordered Chinese food, spread cartons across the coffee table beside the abandoned wedding binder, and opened it together. Brittany grabbed her laptop. My mother pulled out reading glasses. Leon flipped channels on the television with the sound off, glancing over occasionally. We need an announcement, my mother said. Classy. No trash talking. No bitterness. Simple and strong. How about this? Brittany said, typing quickly. Due to unforeseen circumstances, the wedding of Raina Mitchell and Trayvon Hayes has been canceled. However, Raina will still be celebrating on the original date at the original venue. Please join her for a new beginning party to honor fresh starts and second chances. Dress code. Your most vibrant outfit. Bring your joy. I felt my chest loosen a little. I love it, I said. It is perfect. Clear without being messy. Do we mention why? Leon asked. No need, my mother said briskly. Everyone who needs to know already does, or will by tomorrow. The rest can draw their own conclusions. We stayed up late planning. The party would keep the same venue, Lakeside Gardens on the edge of the city, but instead of a ceremony and formal reception, there would be cocktail tables, a live band, a disc jockey for later, photo booths, a wild, colorful cake, and a dress code that required people to show up in their brightest clothing. No speeches about marriage. No slideshow of couple memories. Just a celebration of survival and freedom. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee and my mother's voice drifting from the kitchen as she gave rapid-fire updates to relatives. No, she is not falling apart, she said to one aunt. She is handling it beautifully. Yes, there is going to be a party. No, you do not need to call Trayvon. My eyes were puffy. My body felt like it had been hit by a truck. But I was upright. My mother set a plate of eggs and toast in front of me. You need your strength, she said. We have cancellations to make and a party to plan. How did you know Dad was the right one? I asked after a few bites. How did you know he would not do something like this? My parents had been married for 35 years. High school sweethearts who still held hands when they walked through the park. I did not know with absolute certainty, my mother said. No one ever does. Love always involves risk. What I did know was that your father was consistent. He showed up. He kept his word. He treated me with respect even when we disagreed. He never made me feel like I had to become someone else to be worthy of his love. Trayvon made me feel like that, I admitted. Like I had to be more adventurous, more exciting, less me. Then he was not your person, she said simply. Your person is someone who loves you as you are and encourages you to grow in the directions you choose, not the directions they choose for you. Brittany arrived exactly on time, hair pulled into a sleek bun, briefcase in hand, face full of focused determination. "All right," she said, dropping onto the couch. "Let us call every vendor and rearrange your life. First, the venue." I called Lakeside Gardens, bracing myself. "Melissa, it is Raina," I said when the coordinator answered. "I heard," Melissa said immediately, her voice full of sympathy. "I am so sorry. Are you all right?" "I will be," I said. "I know this is last minute, but I need to change the event. Keep the date, keep the space, but it will not be a wedding anymore. Just a party. Same guest list." Melissa was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Of course. And keep all your deposits. Consider it our gift. What he did was cruel. You deserve this night." I pressed my hand against my chest. "Thank you. That means more than you know." Next came the caterer. Then the florist, who had been planning soft white and green arrangements. "Scrap the white roses," I said. "I want color, red, orange, purple, blue. I want the room to look like celebration exploded inside it." The florist laughed softly. "I love it. And Raina, good for you. Do not hide. Celebrate anyway." The photographer, the band, the disc jockey, almost all of them stayed on board happily. A few even offered discounts. "It is rare we get to capture a different kind of love story," the photographer said. "The love you have for yourself and your people." By lunchtime, the logistics were in place. I sat on the rug surrounded by open laptops and checklists while my phone buzzed with responses to the digital invitations Brittany had helped me design. A deep sapphire background, gold lettering. "You are invited to celebrate new beginnings with Raina Mitchell. What was meant to be a wedding is now a celebration of fresh starts, second chances, and the courage to choose yourself. Dress code. Wear something that makes you feel powerful." When I finally pressed send to 300 guests, my finger hovered for a full minute. This would make everything official. Public. Real. Then I took a deep breath and pressed the button. Within minutes, replies poured in. "I will be there. You are incredible. This is the best response to a broken engagement I have ever seen." One colleague wrote, "We always thought you were too good for him. Now the whole city will know it." A few days later, I was back at work. My business, Mitchell Signature Events, had always been busy, but I realized I had been planning to scale back after the wedding, take fewer clients, travel less, adjust my schedule to fit married life. Now, sitting in my modest office overlooking a neighborhood park, I saw my calendar with new eyes. Instead of wondering what I could give up for Trayvon, I started wondering what I could build for myself. In the evenings, after client meetings and vendor calls, I worked on the party. My mother helped with the guest list. Leon coordinated with the restaurant that would be catering. Brittany revised contracts and kept an eye out for any legal issues. My apartment, stripped of Trayvon's things, began to feel like mine again. I bought a new throw blanket for the couch, a new rug, new artwork for the walls. Little by little, I reclaimed my space. The night before the party, Brittany arrived with her friend Jade, a makeup artist. "Tomorrow is not about impressing anyone," Brittany said as Jade unpacked brushes and palettes on my bathroom counter. "It is about feeling like yourself on your best day." I had chosen a dress that made my heart lift when I tried it on. A deep blue that clung to my waist and flowed out at the skirt, catching the light. Not a wedding dress, but still special. When I put it on that afternoon and looked in the mirror, I saw a woman who had been broken and decided to build something better from the pieces. "You look extraordinary," my mother said from the doorway, wearing a vibrant red dress that echoed my own bold color. Absolutely extraordinary. At Lakeside Gardens, the transformation took my breath away. Where there should have been an aisle and rows of chairs, there was a wide-open dance floor. Cocktail tables draped in jewel-toned linens dotted the space. Tall vases overflowed with wild, colorful flowers. String lights twinkled overhead. The band was warming up. The disc jockey tucked cables and tested sound. The cake, when I finally saw it, almost made me cry. It was a tower of geometric shapes in dazzling shades of purple, gold, teal, and magenta, each tier representing, the baker said, a different part of my journey. Wisdom, joy, peace, growth. Guests arrived in waves, filling the room with color and warmth. My college friends had coordinated bright orange dresses. My cousins wore electric blues, greens, and pinks. My father hugged me so hard my ribs ached, then stepped back to look me over with shining eyes. "I have never been more proud of you," he said. People danced. They ate. They laughed. Several came up to hug me and whisper things like, "You are an inspiration." And thank you for showing us another way to handle heartbreak. For the first time since that brutal brunch, I felt something like genuine happiness. At around 4:30, the air in the room shifted. Conversations faltered. The band's song trailed off. I looked toward the entrance and saw Trayvon standing in the doorway, Asia beside him, wearing a simple black dress that clashed completely with the vibrant dress code. For a heartbeat, my stomach lurched, the room narrowing around him. Brittany materialized at my side. "Do you want me to have them removed?" she asked quietly. I inhaled slowly. My feet were planted on the floor, my hands relaxed at my sides. "No," I said. "I will handle this." I walked toward the entrance. Every step felt like a deliberate choice. Trayvon looked tired, thinner, eyes shadowed like he had not been sleeping. Asia's expression was pinched and uneasy. Security hovered subtly in the background, watching. "Reina," Trayvon said, "we need to talk. Please." "You have exactly 1 minute," I said calmly. "Then you are leaving. You are not a guest here." "I made a mistake," he said, voice rough. "The worst mistake of my life. I have been trying to reach you. You blocked my number. You blocked my emails. I came because I need you to know how sorry I am." "I heard you," I said. "At the restaurant. At my office when you showed up uninvited. Every time my phone tried to deliver another message from you before I blocked it. But let us be clear. I did not call you here. You chose to walk into a celebration that has nothing to do with you. Reina, I love you. I want you back. We can go to counseling. We can postpone the wedding. We can figure this out," he said. Asia was a mistake. I looked at him for a long moment. There had been a time when those words would have broken me open, when I would have grabbed at any chance to fix us. Now, looking at the tired, desperate man in front of me, I felt nothing but a distant, quiet pity. "You do not love me," I said. "You love the comfort I gave you. You love the fact that I was stable and reliable. You love having someone to come home to when your excitement wears off. But real love does not humiliate someone at brunch. Real love does not negotiate their worth based on how adventurous they are." Asia finally spoke. "Reina, I am sorry," she said. "When I met him, he told me things were complicated. When I finally realized you existed, I should have walked away. I did not. I am sorry." I lifted my hand slightly. "I do not need your apology," I said. "What I need is distance. This party is for people who care about me. You two do not qualify." I turned to security. "Please escort them out." Trayvon tried one last time. "Reina, please." "If you contact me again," I said, my voice clear enough for everyone nearby to hear, "in any way, phone, email, social media, showing up where I live or work, I will file for a restraining order. We are not getting back together. We are not friends. We are nothing." Security led them out. The door closed behind them with a soft but satisfying finality. The room stayed silent for a few beats. Then my mother started clapping. Brittany joined her. Leon whistled. Guests applauded, some cheering outright. The band slid into "I Will Survive," and someone pressed a glass of champagne into my hand. I laughed. Really laughed. For the rest of the night, I danced until my feet hurt, hugged until my arms ached, and let people celebrate me in a way I had never allowed before. It was not the wedding I had imagined, but it was something better. A public declaration that I was choosing myself. 2 months later, my life hardly resembled the one I had known. Mitchell's signature events had exploded with new clients. An online magazine had reached out to write a profile on the event planner who turned her broken engagement into a celebration. I had agreed on the condition that the piece focus on my work, not just my heartbreak. The article led to more inquiries than I could handle alone. I hired an assistant, Ashley Moore, and started looking for a larger office. One afternoon, my biggest client to date, Charles Harrington, a chief executive officer of a major technology firm in Chicago, called to ask if I would be willing to handle an important company conference in Honolulu, Hawaii. "Consider it a test run before the charitable gala I told you about," he said. A few months later, I stepped off a Delta flight into the warm air of Honolulu. My hotel room overlooked the Pacific Ocean, a sweep of blue that seemed to stretch forever. Standing on the balcony, I thought about the girl who had cried in her car outside Riverfront Bistro and realized just how far I had come. The 3-day conference was intense. I coordinated registration, keynote speakers, breakout sessions, vendor booths, meals, and a closing dinner on the beach. On the second evening, after a long day of managing a dozen crises that no one in the audience ever saw, I sat at the hotel bar with a pineapple mocktail and my notebook, reviewing the schedule for the next day. "You are Raina Mitchell, correct?" A warm voice with a slight East Coast lilt said. I looked up. A tall man in a perfectly cut maroon suit stood beside me, holding a glass of sparkling water. He had an easy, confident smile and eyes that met mine without a hint of arrogance. I said, cautious but polite. "I am Kendall Pierce," he said, offering his hand. "I am speaking tomorrow about sustainable technology partnerships. Charles will not stop talking about you. He says you are the reason this conference is running so smoothly." I shook his hand. "I appreciate that," I said. "Most of the time, if no one notices me, it means I am doing my job correctly." Kendall laughed. "Then you are doing it exceptionally well. I have been to plenty of conferences that felt like chaos in a suit jacket. This one is actually enjoyable." We talked for nearly an hour about work, travel, difficult clients, and the strange way life sometimes knocked you down just so you would climb higher. I did not tell him everything, but I told him enough that he understood my business was built on both skill and survival. "If you are ever interested in planning something in New York City," he said as the bartender started wiping down the counter, "let me know. I have a lot of contacts in the clean energy world. And if you ever just want to see the city, I give excellent food tours." I smiled. "I might take you up on that," I said. The next day, his presentation was one of the best at the conference. The room was packed, and people actually stayed after to ask questions instead of sprinting for the exits. Afterward, he found me near the registration desk. "How did I do?" he asked, slightly breathless. "You were outstanding," I said. "You made complicated material feel approachable. People were engaged the whole time." "Good," he said, visibly relieved. Because I was more nervous than I looked. He flew back to New York City that evening, but a week later, I received a text from an unknown number. "Hi Raina, this is Kendall. I got your number from the conference registration database. I hope that is not too forward. Just wanted to say again how impressed I was with your work. If you ever want to talk events, technology, or food, I am available, no pressure." I stared at the message, then found myself smiling. The difference between no pressure and the desperate, demanding messages Trayvon had sent months ago was like the difference between night and morning. I replied, "Hi Kendall. Not too forward at all. Thank you. I might take you up on that conversation sometime. I hope you made it home safely." Over the next few months, our occasional texts turned into regular conversations. We talked about upcoming projects, terrible airline snacks, the best neighborhoods in different cities, and what it meant to build a life that actually felt like your own. He never pushed for more than I was ready to give. He simply showed up, consistently, with kindness and interest. Back in Chicago, my business continued to grow. I signed a contract with Charles's company to handle all their major events for the year and agreed to plan the charitable youth gala he was passionate about. I moved into a larger office with floor-to-ceiling windows and hired a second assistant. Trayvon, meanwhile, refused to disappear gracefully. He sent letters to my office. He left voicemails from new numbers. Once, he showed up in the lobby, insisting he only wanted 5 minutes. Ashley called upstairs, voice tense. I went down with security at my side. "You have 2 minutes," I said, standing in the middle of the lobby where the receptionist and security guard could hear every word. "I cannot stop thinking about you," he said. "I cannot sleep. I cannot focus. I made a mistake, Raina. Asia and I are over. She was not what I thought she was." "That is unfortunate for you," I said. "But it changes nothing for me. My life is very full. It does not include you." "We were good together," he insisted. "We can be good again. Please, just give me another chance." "We were not as good as I thought," I replied. "Because someone who truly loves me does not cheat for months and then end our engagement in public. I wish you healing and growth, but I do not wish you back into my life." When he still refused to accept that answer, and later showed up at a walkthrough for the charitable gala venue, Charles himself stepped in, asked a few pointed questions, and then told Trayvon in a clipped, professional tone that he was no longer welcome at any event associated with the foundation. After that confrontation, I agreed with Brittany. It was time for a restraining order. She filed the paperwork, laid out the pattern of unwanted contact, and a judge granted it without hesitation. Being handed that piece of paper in the courtroom felt like closing the last door on a burning room and walking away. The night of the gala arrived in a blur of floral deliveries, sound checks, and lighting tests. The ballroom of the Riverfront Hotel in Chicago shimmered with deep blue uplighting and towering centerpieces in shades of purple and silver. Silent auction tables lined one wall. A stage waited at the front for speeches and live bidding. I did one last walkthrough, adjusted a place card, straightened a candle, gave a quick note to the disc jockey about the opening playlist, and finally allowed myself to exhale. This was the largest event of my career. It had to be perfect. Guests began arriving just after 7 o'clock, dressed in sleek suits and evening gowns. Charles and his wife greeted each one. I floated around the edges, checking details, answering questions, and accepting compliments with a professional smile. At some point, while adjusting the timing of dessert service, I heard a familiar voice. "Quite a night," Kendall said beside me. I turned, startled and then genuinely pleased. He stood there in a navy suit, tie slightly loosened, eyes warm. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "Charles invited me," he said. "He thought I should see your work in person." He glanced around. He was right. This is extraordinary. I felt my cheeks warm. "Thank you," I said. "That means a lot." "Would you like to dance?" he asked when the band shifted into a slow, smooth song. For a moment, I hesitated. Then I nodded. "Yes," I said. "I would." On the dance floor, he held me with a careful respect that made me feel safe instead of trapped. "I know the timing may still be complicated," he said quietly, "but I want to be honest with you. I am interested in you as more than a friend. I have been since Honolulu." My heart fluttered, but it did not panic. "I am not ready for anything too serious," I said slowly. "I spent years making myself smaller to fit into someone else's life. I am finally building a life that feels like mine. I do not want to lose that." "Then we will go slowly," Kendall said. "We will move at your pace. I am not here to take anything from you. I am here because I like who you are, exactly as you are." I looked up at him, at the sincere expression in his eyes, and felt something settle, quiet and sure. "Then I think I would like to see where this goes," I said. Slowly. He smiled, and the rest of the night passed in a swirl of speeches, laughter, bidding paddles, and music. By the time the final guests left and the last centerpiece was boxed, the foundation had raised twice its fundraising goal. Charles pulled me aside before he went home and said, "You have a gift, Raina. Whatever you want this business to become, it will." Months later, I stood on a stage at an event planning conference in Dallas, delivering a keynote speech about building a business from the ground up. The ballroom was full of planners, coordinators, and dreamers. I told them about starting with family birthday parties and backyard weddings, about the power of relationships, and about the moment when my life fell apart at a brunch table and forced me to decide who I really wanted to be. "The key," I told them, "is to stop making yourself smaller. Build work that reflects who you truly are. Surround yourself with people who respect that. And when life knocks you down, ask what it might be clearing space for rather than who you can shrink for to keep the peace." After the applause faded and the conference ended, Kendall and I went to dinner. He had flown in for the speech, he said, because he wanted to see me standing in my power. Over plates of pasta and sparkling water with lemon, he reached across the table and took my hand. "How is life?" he asked. I thought about my full client list, my growing team, my new second office space, my family group chat filled with bad jokes and photos, my mother's proud texts, Leon's constant, protective check-ins, Brittany's late-night calls to celebrate her own promotion to partner at her firm, and the careful, steady relationship blossoming slowly, intentionally, between Kendall and me. "Life is good," I said. "Really, truly good." That night, back in my Chicago apartment, I sat on my couch with my laptop and opened a fresh document. At the top, I typed, 5-year plan, Mitchell signature events. Then I started listing goals. Open a second office. Mentor young planners from underrepresented backgrounds. Plan more charitable galas. Build a team that could handle events across the country. Travel, but on my own terms. As the cursor blinked at the end of each line, I felt a deep, steady gratitude. For my work. For my people. For the strength I had discovered in myself. For the fact that a man who tried to break me at brunch had inadvertently pushed me toward a life that was wider, brighter, and truer than anything I had imagined while sitting across from him at that table. My phone buzzed. A text from Leon, just checking in. "How is my favorite sister?" I smiled and typed back, "Life is perfect." Actually genuinely perfect. Then I set my phone down, took a sip of tea, and kept writing my plans for a future that finally, fully belonged to me. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.